How's it going, guys? Poplar Mechanic here. Today we're going to be taking a look at my King Canada 10x22 lathe. I'm not going to get in the details too much about it today. I'm just going to spin some scrap metal I've got here so you guys can check it out. I plan on using it for working on my saws and things like that. I got some buddies that are willing to help me out and point me in the right direction for stuff like that. I'm not really going to build saws to sell them or anything. I just want to do it for myself. So that's kind of where I'm at there. Before we get into it here, I just wanted to mention Steve McSweeney. He's my father-in-law. He's got a really wicked fishing channel. If you guys are interested in fishing, you're going to want to check it out. Like, he's a professional photographer. He's out there kayak fishing, doing it the real way, you know, catching trout, all kinds of fish, big sturgeon. So if you guys are into that, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, so here's the lathe. King Industrial 10x22, or King Canada, I think they called it on there, but it says King Industrial. But anyways, here it is. So it's pretty good size lathe. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the specs with it and stuff. It's plenty good for doing saws and things like that. It comes with a 4-jaw chuck, you know, for doing your square parts, which I've already done some. And you know, it's got it doesn't have auto cross feed though. You have to do that manually, but it does do the other way. It'll do threads. It goes in reverse. You know, there's a few different speeds. You just got to change the belts. It's primarily belt driven, and then there's some gears in there too. Comes with some extra gears. Like I said, I'm just getting into this, guys, so even if you guys want to leave me some tips or anything you know about it, just let me know in the comments below. You know, I've acquired quite a few tools here just over the past couple weeks, getting into this stuff. It's pretty interesting. This dial indicator is wicked too. It's just awesome. It's a magnet. You can shut on or off. So you can put it basically anywhere you're working, and then you just loosen this and you can put it in any direction, and it'll just tell you if you got run out and how bad that run out is. So anyways, one of the first projects I did with this is I got this quick change tool post. And I got 5/8 tooling because a local guy sold them to me here, and he didn't have 1/2 inch, which I'm fine with because I heard the bigger tools are better. The problem was sitting on the carriage here, I wouldn't hit center. So when I slid these into the post, even if they were all the way flush with the, you know, with the carriage here, it would still be above center, and it's really important to be on center. So I actually had to put this in the 4-jaw and take some off the bottom, and I actually still have to take a little bit more off both of these. I have 2 of these so I can hit center, but that's not a huge deal. It's just things I'm learning. You know, it's not perfect, but I was learning about, you know, speeds in the center versus speeds on the outside, so I actually had to bump the RPM up a little bit. So now I know that. So I did that. I did those 2. The other thing I did was this quick change tool post actually had different threads than the one that came with it. I'll see if I can. And I'm not even sure what I did with that. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so this is the guy that came with it, right? It's just meant to hold 1/2 inch tooling. You have to undo these bolts every time, which is pretty much a pain in the ass if you're doing different operations. So it was recommended to me to get this. But anyways, I took this little thing out here. I don't know if they call it a T-nut or whatever they call it, but anyways, I took it out, you know, drilled a hole, put it up in the lathe, found center with the 4-jaw, and then I tapped the 9/16 threads, and then this went right on, which was really easy. It was easier than I thought it was going to be, so that's kind of nice when you got, you know, machine precision. So it's an upgrade from this for sure, but like I said, the 5/8 tool posts, like the oversized ones, they need some off the bottom, and that was just my quick solution other than getting this milled or something stupid, right? So, and this way I can run 1/2 inch in anything too, so that's kind of nice. So I did that. What else did I do? I started working on this piece here just recently for my degree wheel. I'm just going to tap it and use a die on the other side so I can hold my degree wheel onto the saw. You know, when I'm taking my measurements, just going to be a real nice straight piece. Obviously not that long, I got to cut it, but that's the start. So I did those 2 things. What else did I do? Oh, on my square grinder here. So what happened was, you know, I live in Canada, obviously, so sometimes it's harder to get these parts than it is for you guys in the States. Like, I can't just phone my local guy and be like, hey, I need these square grinder things, right? I got to pay all this shipping and stuff like that, even if it's small, and oftentimes they won't even ship it. So basically what I did was I found these on Amazon, and they just come without threads, and the diameter's larger and stuff, and I thought, well, I could turn it down and use a die, put it up in the lathe, just spinning by hand, obviously, and I was able to make this. So now I can have these diamond points, and they're actually really good too. I'll show you what the box looks like. Diamond dressers, yeah, they're actually really good. They've been doing a good job of keeping my wheel clean and things like that. Just working on the 462 chain here. I got one side done, but yeah, no, it's just been phenomenal, the things you can do with it so far. I also fixed the stump grinder lid, like the chip guard there. It was starting to slop so bad, like the bar that went through just got so worn out that the top of the cover was actually starting to tick the teeth once in a while. So I had to take that bar out, measured the fattest diameter, you know, machined it down, and then put it back and welded it in, and man, it's way better now. So just those kind of things, you know. I'm going to use it for a lot, but primarily I bought it for working on chainsaws. So anyways, guys, I've rambled on enough here. Let's throw some stuff in there and turn it down. All right, guys, so one of the first things I learned when setting this all up, you can see I've got the chuck set up in the tailstock. I've slid it up close to the workpiece, and then I locked it down. And then you can just turn it in with this. So I'm going to be center drilling this, so I'm using a center drill. And this is basically just so I can put the tailstock in here and support this. Now I could get away without support on this. I've heard a few different numbers, you know, 1.5 times the diameter, 2.5 times the diameter. I think it's 2.5 though, but it doesn't matter. It also depends on what cuts you're taking. You'll know if it's messing up, because what happens if you have a great big long bar in here and you've got no support, or sometimes even when you have tail support and it's too long, you're gonna have to use something else. This one comes with a follow rest, a steady rest. The follow rest is probably easiest for long parts in the middle, because it bolts right to the front of the carriage here, and it just follows you and just keeps this bar from flexing or whatever you're working on. But like I said, with saws and things like that, it won't matter, because I'll be making, you know, the mandrels will be so thick, because they'll be as thick as the piston, right? So that they can slide on. And then when I'm cutting the base, I'll just use a left hand cutting tool and cut this direction towards the tailstock. So, you know, so that's just something to consider. Obviously, the thinner the part, the more you know, support you're gonna need. So in this case, I'm just gonna demonstrate this. So I've got everything all chucked up. This is locked down. We'll fire it up. We'll center drill it, put it in the tailstock, and then we'll spin some metal off of there. Okay, guys, so I've got her all into place here. I've got you guys clamped to the carriage here. And I just spin this by hand just to make sure I'm clearing everything. This has all been tightened down. Everything's ready to go. So we're gonna fire it up here, and we're gonna drill this hole so we can put the tailstock in. So I'm just slowly turning it in by hand. You can back out once in a while. I don't want to add too much oil because I don't want it to get on the camera, but a little bit of oil does help. She's starting to drill real good here. All right, so that should be plenty good of a hole there to put the tailstock in. So what I'll do now is I'll shut everything down, and then I'll put it in the tailstock, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so there's a closer look at that hole we just drilled. It's a real nice hole. I could have went deeper, and like I said, you may have to change the size of the hole for your part, or you'll use these you'll use these so you can start a regular drill bit, right? You use the center drill because it's nice and short, there's no flex, you'll get dead center with it, and then you can carry on drilling and then whatever else you want to do from there. But that's plenty good for this. All right, so here we go. So I've got her locked off into the tailstock here using a live center. The difference between this and a dead center is a dead center doesn't spin, but this actually has bearings in here so it'll spin. And I've locked everything off here. I've put my carbide tool up to the work here. So I'm just gonna move it ahead till it just touches. Then I'm gonna back it off, and I'm actually gonna take, you know what, I will take a little bit here. So we'll take about 5 thousandths. Now let's keep in mind, there is a higher area here, and also this carbide likes to cut. I find it does better when it takes a bit more material, but we'll get into that. And also I bumped the RPM down just for this first cut, and then I'll speed it up for the next one. So let's turn it on and see what we can do. Oh, another thing, guys, you're definitely going to want to wear safety glasses when you're doing this, because, you know, wood chips in your eye is one thing, metal is a completely different thing. So just keep that in mind. Okay, gonna use the auto feed here. That's just the residual oil there. It's actually doing quite a nice cut there. Real nice cut, actually. Not gonna be using oil with the carbide. So here's a little bit thicker cut. Breaking the chips. All right, so there's the finish on that. Wow, that's actually super smooth. That was a really good pass actually on that lower RPM. So anyways, you get the point. So the tailstock supports the work, and this is basically how I'll be doing my aluminum mandrels on here, which should be really easy to do actually once you have the machine. So that'll be a good start to cutting bases. And then there's another way to cut the squish band with the boring bar, but I got to talk to my buddy Ian that built my other saws. He's gonna help me make the jig or whatever I need. It's basically just a plate, I think, that you bolt on and then put her in the chuck, and then you go into the inside of the squish band there through the jug. But yeah, it should be pretty interesting. I can't see it being too hard, to be honest with you. You're taking such a little amount of material, and like I said, I got high-speed steel stuff as well. So all right, let's bump the RPM up a bit and take a little bit bigger of a pass here. All right, so here's 20,000 pass with the RPMs bumped up. I believe it's 300 or something like that. And here we go. Now it's throwing some chips. It's almost getting a mirror finish on there. Wow, so that's like a mirror finish on the part here. It's kind of hard to see without the light, but it is just smooth as can be. So yeah, overall I like it. It does a really good job. All right, let's switch to a high-speed steel and try that. All right, guys, so I bumped you in a little bit closer here. This will be the high-speed steel. I ground this bit myself. It was a blank, so it's not perfect. Like I said, I'm just learning this stuff. So I'm going to take about 5 thousandths off this, just a small pass, because the diameter of this bar could be inconsistent. So we'll go ahead and do that now. so we're gonna take a bit more than that. That was almost nothing. We'll do 10 thou. Okay, so here's 10 thou. It's breaking the chips quite nicely. So that's actually a really smooth finish on that part as well. You can see as I pan down here, it's just, that actually did a better job than I thought it was gonna. Now, like I said, you can use some oil with this stuff. With carbide, I heard you can either saturate it with oil or don't use any at all, like depending what you're cutting. Obviously, if you have a big machine, you're gonna wanna use oil, but you know, the carbide seems to do fine. The high-speed steel, I think, needs, will heat up quite a bit quicker. Or if not heat up, you can ruin the tip. I wanted to test the limit, so I did do that. But I mean, it's good. It cuts pretty good, and you can make your own. You can sharpen them as well. Okay, so let's do one more pass. Let's try. Let's switch to the carbide, and we'll do a nice long pass here at about 30 thousandths, and I'll put it in slow motion, and we'll just see how that looks. All right, guys. So to finish off the video here, we're going to take 30 thousand cut with the carbide here, and we'll put it in slow motion and see what it looks like. So we're actually getting a bit of a bird nest here, which is what you don't want. You know, I'm gonna grab some gloves here and get rid of this, but yeah, that's essentially what you don't want. It's actually making a really smooth cut. It's just, you want the chips to break off. So basically, this can be from, you know, the RPM, the speed it's feeding along, how big of a cut you're taking, all those things affect, and you just got to get used to it. Basically, you want the chips to break off. You definitely don't want this, because what'll happen is it'll wrap in the chuck, it'll damage your work or potentially hurt you. So I'm going to grab some gloves, remove this, and then we'll try something different. All right, guys, so I've removed the bird's nest, but I mean, the finish is just glossy. It's still really good, but like I said, you definitely want to avoid that. A few longer chips I find are okay, but you don't want it wrapping like that for sure. But like I said, I'm learning, and I haven't really tried that exact RPM with that depth of cut. So you could either reduce your depth of cut, increase the RPM, just do anything you can to break the chips, as far as I can understand. So I'll go into this and we'll just do 20 thousandths instead and see if that's any better. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to mention too. The RPMs change. So as the diameter of the part decreases, the RPMs lessen. So that could have something to do with it too, right? You might take a really good cut, and that's something important to keep in mind when you're facing work too, because the outside of the part is actually spinning faster than the inside of the part. Okay, so we're gonna try and turn this down again. This is 15 thousandths of an inch, and we'll see how that does. So there, now you can see the chips are starting to break away, right? So you just have to adjust to the situation. So that one there was probably one of the best finishes I can get, that I've been able to get so far. It's just perfect. Like, I can't even feel any notches with my nail. So basically, whatever part you're doing, you just have to get the hang of it. I actually haven't put any aluminum in here, but I heard WD-40 works really good for a lubricant with that. I just didn't want to use any lubricant with the steel here today because it would have got all over the camera. So for that reason, I didn't use it, but with small cuts, it's fine as long as it doesn't get too hot. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry for taking so much of your time here. I just really wanted to show you the lathe. I'm really excited about it and all the things that it can do. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.